Hello, my loves. Today we are going to talk all about spirituality, sexuality, feminine energy, and all good things, including new moon stuff, right? Today we have with us Janelle and Aleesha, my friends from the Permission Givers podcast. Hi, Janelle. Hi, Aleesha.
Hello, thank you for having us. We're really excited.
So excited to have both of you here. Can we start with a brief introduction of who you are? You're really cool people. So I just want you to tell my audience who you are a little bit.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Janelle. I am a spirit medium. That's my title. I'm also a spiritual guide. I run women's circles with my beautiful soul sister Aleesha, who's on with us today as well, and also a host of the Permission Givers. So what I'm all about is empowerment, strong focus on women's empowerment, but obviously our men need empowerment too. And yeah, so that's one of my biggest callings in life is to empower people to take their power, empower people to take their power back in any way, shape, or form that I can do so. So yeah,
Love
that's
that.
me.
Love that. So hashtag empowerment.
Yeah. I was like, how many times did I say empowerment then?
I love it. Power is
Yeah,
important.
it is. It
What
is.
about you, Alicia?
And essentially, I think I'm about empowerment too. So I call myself a soul coach or a personal freedom coach. Um,
A soul
I,
coach.
yeah, I'm breathwork Reiki trained, and I use actually probably more talk therapy with clients, one-on-one and in group containers. Um, I feel like my gift is to help people have a better relationship with their emotions. So, an emotional intimacy, emotional regulation, emotional resilience. So, and that's really what I'm heavily passionate about. But that also comes down to masculine, feminine energy and how, that's all the internal stuff that I love to deal with when it comes to working with clients. And yeah, as Janelle was saying, I'm very focused on empowering humans with their own identity and their own version of self.
I love it. Emotional intelligence is such a huge part of human flourishing. I think a lot of issues in the world is because some people have very low emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
right? They don't know how to regulate their emotion, they don't know how to express it, and becomes a huge problem.
Yeah,
It
they have
does.
massive, yeah, like majority of us, and I, what I know about myself is I teach from personal experience. So I have a passion for learning things that I'm really interested in, but majority of the way I teach is from lived experience. And so, as a woman who got to her 40s before she was ever had the courage to feel safe with the darker, more shadow emotions. Um, it's been a really quick, vast journey for me to learn in the last few years how
Mhm.
to become more comfortable with my own emotions. And I feel like the thing is when we have a limitation in our lives, the moment we break through that limitation and teach ourselves how we actually broke through that limitation, we can teach it to others and it literally becomes a gift. So I say this because I feel like a lot of people think I can't do this or I'm not good at that.
Right.
The thing that is the resistance, the moment you break through the resistance and teach yourself how you did that, like literally become clearer on how you did that, you literally become an expert in the thing that you've been terrified of your whole life.
Mm. I
So
completely agree. I had that moment of breakthrough from being a sexually anxious person and kind of gone through a bunch of sexual partners when I was younger and just never really feeling fulfilled. And then when I made the choice to embark on this like spiritual journey and sexual enlightenment journey, there was like a moment where I felt like I need to believe I can change in order to become the person that I wanted to be. But oh my gosh, so much good stuff because spirituality, what the events that you host and everything related to emotion, all of that is related to sex. So I'm curious about one of the events that you host, and I saw it on your website, and it's called Goddess Gatherings. And I love the word goddess. And
Mhm.
I'm curious, what's Goddess Gatherings?
Yeah, sure. So we hold a goddess gathering once a month. We started, maybe 8 months ago. Again, it was just, we were talking in sisterhood, open, honest, holding each other. And we went, we need to bring this to the masses. This is medicine. So women connecting on a raw emotional level is medicine, right?
Yes.
So we put it out there and it sold out within 6 days. And we were like, oh, wow. And so it started quite big, but we've brought it back to being quite small. So we have 20 people, we cap it at 20. And we hold a circle. So we share whatever's going on for us. And we play in the dark and the light. So we talk about the things that are eating us up, our triggers, our shame, everything. But we also laugh our asses off. Like, it's so, we might be sobbing, but also laughing. And, they're just incredible. So the focus, I guess, of the events is to drop the shame stories on whatever that may be, whether that be things that happened to you as a child, whether that be sexual experiences, whether that be feeling like you're not attractive or you're not a good mum, whatever it
Right.
is, just allowing that space to drop that from your body and to be seen and witnessed by other women. So like, it's so hard to put them into words as to how they run, but they're all about connection and, I guess, raw honesty and communication and empowering women. Leesh, what
Yeah.
would you add to that?
One thing I will add to that is that we also, so it's a big thing to bring up and speak about shame and guilt and the things that we feel like we're not getting right as women, as mums. So what we also do is provide a space throughout the few hours that we hold to help them resourcefully release what's come up. So it could be breathwork, meditation. We've done clifftop screaming.
That was so cool. Yep.
We use some tools to help them release what we've
Eye
brought up.
gazing. Yep.
Yeah. So I thought that was really important to mention because
Yes. Yep.
like and one of the, well, I guess it's the major overriding rule of our spaces is that it's a sacred safe space, and that's highly important. It's something we speak about at the start because I feel like that's a key to helping women lean in to what might be coming up. If they don't feel safe, they're not going to share what's really needing to be seen and loved and felt. So yeah, providing a safe space and then also allowing them some tools to help release whatever's come up for them.
I love that. So, like at these events, would you say the core of it is cultivating that empowerment and like spirituality within oneself and then connecting with other women?
Yeah, I feel that that's the women that contact us after, because this is something that we've done. We've sat in women's circles and things like that, but there wasn't really anything locally. And the women that contact us afterwards go, that was so incredible. And I'm going back when my cup is filled, so I've dumped the crap that I don't need and I've filled
Oh,
that empty space with some beautiful connection, or even just the feeling of I'm normal.
right,
I am
right.
normal. I remember a woman once said, I don't want to be a mum right now. I've had enough. I don't want to do it. And we were all like, preach, sister, preach. And we laughed. And she goes, now I feel bad that I've said it, because now that I've said it, I don't believe it anymore. And I was like, you just needed to get that out of your body. And I tell you what, you gave me a sense of relief in having that feeling within my body too. So sometimes sharing something so trivial, silly, tantrum-esque is so powerful, because we all literally just put our hands in the air and we're like, word, we get it. I know what it
Yeah.
feels like. And we can't, like, when it comes to our sexuality or even our spirituality, we can't feel ourselves when we're full, if that makes sense as well. So we
Yeah.
can't go and have these deep, beautiful experiences when we are full to the brim of other people's shit, whether that's child rearing, whether that's relationship stuff. There's no room. So it's almost a space to create room for that as well, is what I feel.
Beautiful.
Mm.
And you mentioned spirituality and sexuality. Before I go into my other question about that, I wanted you, both of you, to clarify uh, what do you mean by spirituality?
Sure.
Yeah,
So
what
for
is spirituality?
spirituality is everything.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's in everything. We
I
could be
have a
here for
feeling,
hours.
like a lay person that perhaps like
Mm.
just never heard about
Yeah.
spirituality might think spirituality might be related to a religion. or spirituality is related to energy, yoga, meditation, just some keywords that may pop
Yeah,
up when
sure.
you Google like spirituality, right?
Yeah.
But what is it?
What is it? So I feel like it's different to everyone. So I think that's important to remember too. So there's different practices that are important to everyone. For me, my spirituality is about living in alignment with myself and listening to myself, and getting the information from my intuition, but also being quiet enough to hear that from my guide. So it's about always owning my shit and owning my triggers and going, what's actually coming up here. It's also part of knowing that we're part of something way bigger than we are. So, you know, there's so much magic in the universe, and there's so much magic in who crosses our path and all that kind of stuff. So it's knowing that we are a tiny little bit player, but we are also the most important person in our entire life as well. And it's like for me, it's the balancing of the scales between the two of those. So, spirituality is something we can tap into at any time. I'm not religious at all. I often say religion is a twisted form of spirituality. So they've taken the magic and they've put boundaries and borders and rules and restrictions on it. Whereas spirituality is really open, and it's all about love and connection and being the best version of ourselves, is how I would explain it. Whether or not that makes any sense, I'm not sure. Leash, what would you say? Yeah.
Love, connection, and our relationship with ourselves. I think I think that's pretty much it, right? I think that covers it. I wonder, because you were talking about that, do you believe in God?
I don't actually know.
Right. Like in any shape or form.
Yeah. So I believe in the universe. I believe in well, I work with goddess Kali, so I believe there's lots of different figures and guides that guide us. But I feel the word God closed my mind a long time ago when I was fed that with restrictions and rules and judgments and stuff that didn't sit right with my soul. But it's something that I feel like I'm coming back to. But for a while, every time I heard that word, it made my skin crawl. And I think it was because it was being used in a different light than it should have been. But I don't believe there's one person who controls everything, or one being that controls everything. I feel like it's so much wider and more expansive than that.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Aleesha?
Yeah, I love that you said energy. I feel like for me, I think God is an essence of energy within me, and an essence of energy within everybody and within everything. So, and so I kind of labeled it with love. So I believe God is love. So if God lives in me, and love lives in me, and God lives in you, love lives in you, God lives in every planet, every living being, God lives in even all the space as well. So that's, to me, and that's energy. So, and I know that can be a little hard to grasp for some people, but I realize, so when I'm acting from God, or when I'm acting from love, I'm acting in my truest essence and my truest form. And so there is, to me, that spirituality too, but it's not necessarily religion. I don't have to do anything to practice it. And you know what, even when I'm being a shitty human sometimes, when I'm getting things wrong, I know that there is still essences of love in me, and I'm still worthy and capable of always coming back to that essence, even when I step away from it. And that that's the beauty of God. Like, he will literally still be there no matter what, love, it will still be there no matter what behaviors we display or do. And that's why I have this really strong ability to forgive, and a really strong ability to have compassion for those that people don't have compassion for, usually, because of the way I believe about the energy of love and the energy of God.
Wow, beautiful. Maybe the Beatles were right? All you need is love. And there's love in everything, and God in every one of us. That's beautiful.
And I also my journey to the word God, like, I grew up religious. I was within my grandparents, but between both of them, I grew up in two different religions, a Christian, both different types of Christianity. And so I was brought up quite heavily rooted in Christian beliefs and God. And then I got to my teen years and I came to Australia and kind of got disconnected from that just by not being in the same social circles. And then I went through a massive life experience. I lost my second child. And I literally, so I was 19 years old, and I shut down my ability to believe in God. I
Mm.
literally said, I, I would say essentially, I cursed him. I said, there's no fucking way you can exist. Am I allowed to swear? Sorry.
Yes. Yes, you can. You can say any fucking thing you want.
I said at 19, there's no fucking way you could exist because if
Mhm.
you did, this would never have happened. You would never have taken my innocent 7-week-old baby away from me.
Mhm.
And so from that moment onwards, I closed myself down to spirituality. I closed myself down to God. I closed myself down to believing in anything beyond what I could see, touch, feel, like the 3D world.
Mhm.
And then I went through a process. It took me a solid 20 years, a solid 20 years of living in this scared container, this scared box
Mhm.
that needed to micromanage my entire life to stay safe. And I would say, see, there's another one of my limitations, which is why I think people get this essence of spirituality from me when they see me and when they hear me, because I broke through that box. I broke down those walls through doing a lot of deep diving shadow work and started to realize the essence of me, that God lived in me and that I'd shut down my ability to connect to him in that experience. Um, yeah, so that's what I was just wanting to share how my
Yeah.
beliefs now connected to God are and how they came about.
Mhm.
It's been a journey from childhood to understanding or believing in who he was to like thinking there's not a chance he exists to realizing he is everything.
Right. Right. And could be they, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or she.
Most likely a she. She
Yeah.
knows best.
Every time you were saying he, I was like,
Most likely a she. I know it's a she.
Yeah.
But I asked that because yeah, a lot of my students that are in their early 20s or even late teens, right, like 18, 19, they're like, what does it mean when you say spirituality? What does it
Yeah.
mean like someone's being spiritual, right? So
Mhm.
I always like ask that because in my mind, for me, being spiritual is being is accepting myself, accepting who I am, accepting what I can do at the moment and how I can, what's my capacity at the moment, and then taking time to nourish my soul and nourish my energy, like refill, like so I related spirituality through practice, like things that
Yeah.
I do, right? So like I don't necessarily have a definition of spirituality either, but
Mhm.
what I would say, like something that I do to feel connected to my spirituality is meditation,
Mm.
breath work, taking things slow, um, and really connecting with other humans through
Yep.
slow, thoughtful communication. And I think all of
Yeah.
that is
I feel
spirituality.
like there's no way to explain spirituality in its whole entirety. And it's,
Right.
just as you said, maybe it's as simple as recognizing that there's so much more to being human and having a human existence than we can logically perceive.
Right. I love that.
Mm.
I love that. Perhaps you don't have to think about spirituality. Maybe you just feel spiritual.
Yeah, your brain. Yeah, I say to my students, I
You
say logic
feel that.
doesn't live here.
Right.
We
You
turn
just
our brains
feel,
off to experience. Yeah. So it's about feeling. Yeah.
And
which is
that's
very much. Yes,
Mm.
Alicia.
that's the thing about as a human, we're always trying to label and create like answers to everything, like
Yeah.
explanations for everything. And I guess spirituality is knowing that there's so many things that will never be explained, but they just are. But they
Right.
just are. And you can't even you can't get your mind around how that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but it just is. You can't deny it. But
Yeah.
it, to me, that's the essence of knowing that there's way more than us. And like I'll share this really quick one. When I got the awareness around that I wasn't my thoughts, that I have thoughts, because and this can be quite confusing to get your head around sometimes, but when I realized I could witness myself having a thought, I realized, shit, I'm not my thought, because they just come and go as I please, but I'm witnessing myself having a thought. So who the hell is that? Who is the witnesser? This isn't look. This is another essence of like, if it's not me that's having the thought, if the thought has itself as well, who's the other thing that's witnessing me having the thought?
Mm.
And that blew my mind. And I feel like that's probably one of the first things. And I think that, what's his name? He's
I
wrote a
do
few.
think that that's hard to grasp for a lot of people, right? Even like
It
you
went
explaining that to
even me, I
like
don't
that's
understand.
hard to, yeah, yeah.
We are not our thoughts. We
Mm.
have thoughts, but a lot of people think we are our thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that. And I think one of the first things on the spiritual journey is knowing that our thoughts are not the truth. That's one of the biggest things for spiritual growth and self-acceptance, is just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's the truth. So if your partner's not interested in having sex with you today and your thought goes, that's because you look like shit and they don't like you anymore, that's not the truth. That's your thought. That's your brain and your ego trying to keep you safe, you know? So I think that's a really good part when it comes to self-acceptance, is our thoughts are not the truth.
Right. And I bet the moment that you gave us an example is quite poignant. I think a lot of people have had that thought.
Of course.
Potentially millions of people have had that thought. If the other person is not having sex with you or has low sexual desire, perhaps you think, what's wrong with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with what I bring to the table? Am I not interesting? Am I not attractive? Right. Which leads to my next question. And I'm really interested to see what you think. What is it about spirituality that can potentially make sex better?
Ooh.
I'm
Do you want
conscious
me
that I'm
to
talking a lot, so you can go and then I'll go, because I'm conscious that I'm jumping in
Yeah.
fast because I talk
Yeah.
really fast.
I've
But really, like, what is it about spirituality that makes sex better? Because I've heard from highly spiritual people how they have amazing sexual experiences and sexual relationships. So I've always wondered, and I want to hear from people that practice spirituality as, you know, their jobs, right? What do you think? Like, what about spirituality that makes sex better?
what I'll be honest about is there's another level to, like, say, tantric sex that I've not even dove into yet myself.
Right.
So all I can share is my personal experience, and I went on a journey of 2 years of celibacy. So
Yeah, I want you to share that. I think that whole
yeah,
thing is very interesting.
well, and because I think we spoke in our podcast around the fact that I was very I want to say sexually stunted. I didn't have a connection to my body. And I think that's also to do with my lack of connection to spirituality. So it was a lack of connection to love and God within me that had me disconnected from my body. Because I was disconnected from my body when I did have sex, it wasn't for pleasure for myself. It was a job. I think I said that. It was a job. And so because I didn't have that connection to myself, I never thought of sex as something I do for myself. And what I realized on that 2 years of celibacy, so after my journey was I got to 39 and I'd had two sexual partners in my life and I had children to both men. So 2 children to the first partner and 3 to the second. So I was very monogamous, very, long-term relationship person. And then when my marriage broke down, I went on a discovery process of a couple of years of literally finding some sexual liberation. And I still realize, even in that journey, that it was still about external validation. It was still about feeling better about myself through sexual practices with other humans.
Right.
And then I think that's potentially where the game changer came in for me. And I'm like, okay, if you're still not getting what you need personally from all of these external experiences, let's try something different. And it wasn't something, I didn't go, shit, I'm going to just be celibate for 2 years. And when I say celibate, because I think there's a meaning behind celibate, which is not what, it's not really celibate. What I mean is that I didn't have sexual relations with other humans for, it was 21 months.
Right. Like you were still masturbating.
Yeah, like literally
Okay.
daily, sometimes twice a day. And
Okay.
it was a lot. So I went from, I think there's a whole aspect behind it. I moved into a new home. So me and my children moved to a new home. I literally had a lock on my bedroom door. So that made, and my kids were teenagers by this stage. So they weren't like dependent. I had my freedom to lock my door whenever the hell I wanted. And I had space to cultivate this sexual relationship with myself
Yes.
in the safe space that I didn't think a child was going to walk in every 5 minutes, or I wasn't going to be needed for anything. So I was able to give that time and space to myself. And yeah, I went on it was a self-discovery journey. Like I realized, we can be quite open. I, like just fingering myself, I was able to feel different parts of my insides that I didn't even know fucking existed, like my G spot and the fluffy thing that sits under the, like I didn't know, and but that, like I was 40 and I didn't know all of this stuff about my body because I hadn't built this relationship to be able to feel safe to connect with that part of myself, and so it was those little things, but. Oh, like I'm talking a lot here. I've just got one real powerful thing that I think broke through for me was the orgasm itself. And so I used to, it was like, when I would orgasm, it would be like, I guess, tickle, 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 done. And then I used to think to myself, what's beyond that? Like there's something in me that wants to know what's beyond that. Is that the limit? Is that as good as it gets? And that's what I cultivated in 2 years, was to learn how to have multiple orgasms, how to ride through that discomfort, to make, like, to break through. So it gets to this height and then you just have to let go. And I'm like, I don't fucking want to let go. I want to know what's on the other side. I want to jump off the fucking cliff. And so that's what it was. And so when I got there and I realized what happened for me when I broke through that was emotions. I literally connected to my emotions. So I was like, oh, and it was just such a massive release of energy, like just a massive release of energy. And I realized, fuck, this is what sexual energy is. It's so fucking powerful. And when you are in the height of that, when you break through that, that vibration is so fucking powerful. And so it become, as I said, I feel like I got, this is why it happened so often. It was, I almost would say I got addicted to that feeling, and I'm like, I want to do that. And I spoke about that, was that I started to realize that until I got to that breakthrough of tapping into my emotions, that I didn't really feel like I was doing it right. It was like I wasn't giving it justice.
So that's the convergence between spirituality and sex for you. Self
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah, 100%. Coming back to that. But I also realized there's probably some sacredness around Tantra that would evolve it to a whole nother level of practice again.
I love that story because I've been explaining this feeling to a lot of people about how it feels tickle, 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 and then you come, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of people will let go after, like, you feel like you're coming, right? There is a feeling, especially for those that can come easier through clitoral stimulation and clitoral orgasm. There's a feeling where you come, you just came, right? But if you are slightly more persistent and you keep going and riding that, like having to pee, like closing your legs feeling, there is another one that could potentially come, and then there could be another one. So it's pretty crazy sounding, but it's true, and lots of women kind of experience this. But hey, you know what, like if you're listening and if you feel like you've never ever had a vaginal orgasm, I want to share with you, statistically speaking, a lot of women have never had vaginal orgasm. And so you're completely normal. There's nothing wrong with you. It's completely okay to have clitoral orgasm. They're both pleasurable. To the brain, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Brain science show, you get all these feel good hormones. feel good, all the energy, like energy stuff, and your brain and the brain science tells you, hey, you're experiencing pleasure, awesome, like feel good today, here's some serotonins, here's some dopamine, here's some good shit, right? So at the end of the day, like if you feel like inadequate just because you can't, or you feel like you can't have vaginal orgasm, there's really multiple things you can do to try to have it, or like it's okay to say, hey, I love clitoral orgasm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like I was sharing, I think for me it was the space that I gave myself to go through that self-discovery of like what's
Yeah.
inside there,
Mm.
and like just using my own hands to figure out what it feels like in there, and just have more awareness of my own body and how it
I
works.
love it.
For
I
me,
love
that's
it.
what spirituality and sex is too. And I was just having a laugh and going, that's spirituality right there. That's the universe providing for you and giving you a house with a fucking lock on the door for the first
Ooh.
time in your life to go, okay, this is about me. And so for me, spirituality and sex, it can be the connection between the two of you in the moment. But a lot of where that comes into play and makes things better is that you know yourself and you love yourself, and everything physical, like it's great to play and it's great to look in the mirror and be like, I look banging today, right? But when you're in touch with your spiritual being, you're like, this is a pleasure suit. Like, this is my, I'm wearing this. It's pretty hot, but even if I don't feel so hot, I can still tap into that because I deserve that. So for me, you know, pre-children, I had a perfect body. I didn't think I did, but I did, right? And I look now and I don't, but I'm much more sexually confident and enjoying myself a lot more because I fucking love the shit out of myself. You know what I mean? And it's my
Right.
powerful energy that I hold within, that gives me that permission to do that. So I feel that spirituality, you know, there's lots of ways, again, tantra, energy play work. So, you know, so I love the studies that show, you know, if we hold our hands just above our partner, they can feel that energy, you know, without even touching
Yeah.
them. So playing with energy is such a cool thing, and we can feel that. And I've never delved into it yet because we have children who are young and annoying and in
They're
our face all the
always
time,
on
right?
top of you.
Literally. So it's kind of like, let's have sex when we can, and awesome, let's go. But I love that, you know, I've seen studies that have shown people orgasm from not being touched, just energy manipulation. And I'm like, how cool is that? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, for me, it's that intentional sex rather than let's have sex. You know, it's
Yes.
intentional is where we bring spirituality into that.
Right. Oh, wow.
What
That's
I also loved
so good.
that you touched on is confidence.
Mm.
It is a massive draw card for how you will receive love and how you will give love. And
Mm.
confidence, in essence, comes from our self-esteem. And our self-esteem is an inside job too, which is when you think about your inside job and the inside work you have to do, it's unseen stuff, which is to
Mm.
me, the spiritual world is the unseen world. So that's
Mm.
it. So when you cultivate your self-esteem to be so strong, then the confidence you put out there is going to also manifest into your sex life and
Mm.
how sexual you feel and how sexual you are to be able to receive sex.
And I
Uh,
guess
yeah.
sorry, I'm just jumping in there. Something that we do at our goddess gathering is we'll tap into different chakras. And obviously the sacral chakra is what houses our sexual energy. So we'll
My
often do
favorite.
activations, yeah, of the sacral chakra. And Leisha and I both attended a workshop once. It was called Creatrix. And we had this incredible woman, Laura, banging on this drum and yelling at us in light language and doing all these sacral activations. And I remember we all like messaged her like 3 weeks later, like, what did you do to us? What did you do to us?
Wait,
Because
what happened? What did you do?
well, she activated some form of energy, but the discussion between all of us that went there was essentially like, what did you switch on in our body? Because
Yeah, I was
like
gonna
the sex
say,
just intensified, like the animalistic, the grunting, the not worrying what you sound like, just that like raw wild woman shit. And
woman.
yes, it was incredible. So the sacral chakra is so powerful and we hold so much tension and shit there. So when we can,
So much.
you know, light that up, whew, that was incredible. It was mind-blowing, incredible.
For
I
my
have those
listeners
thoughts.
who for my listeners who don't know what the sacral chakra is, can you
Mhm.
review that? What is it?
Yeah. So it's essentially the womb space. So it's our second lowest chakra. So we obviously have the root chakra, which is our lower back area, that keeps us grounded and safe. And then the sacral chakra is our womb space. So that's our pleasure center. That's our energy driver. It's our intuition. It can make babies,
And
it's
it's men and
incredible.
women. It's like everyone has this.
Yeah. So for women, it's more powerful,
Mhm,
but it
mhm.
is there for men as well. But obviously, Leisha and I focus on that within women, activation of that sacral chakra. It is a divine feminine energy chakra as well. So they flow through. And yeah, so the sacral chakra is intuition, pleasure center, creativity, all that kind of stuff. So I
Perfect.
call it the juiciness of life. Our
Mm.
root chakra is the base, the structure, the safety, and we're like, great, the safety is done, let's bring on the fun stuff, let's bring on the juicy stuff, let's bring on the magical. So that's how I describe it. Yeah.
Mhm.
It is a magical portal of
Mm.
energy. When you think about it, this is where life is created. This is where babies are created, is in the womb. So it is and so it's like a man's sperm and a woman's egg come together in there, and then something else brings a soul that puts it into that, and
Mm.
that's where life is created. So it
Mhm.
literally is the birth of creation, our
Yeah.
womb. It's a
Mhm.
magical portal.
I
Yeah.
I truly believe in everything that you both are saying. You're preaching to the choir. I'm trying to get my listeners on board.
Yes.
uh, and that's the womb area, as in like the pubic area, the top of the pubic area, right?
Yeah, so the pelvis is kind of how I describe
Mhm.
it to my
The
clients. So
pelvis.
it's that whole pelvic area from the belly button, like right down around the hips and stuff like that. And I truly believe that we have so much, premenstrual problems, fertility problems, and all that kind of stuff because we've lost connection with our
Mhm.
sacral chakra. We're really a lot of the time we're women trying to live in a really masculine world, and we've
Mhm.
lost connection with our cycle and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's a whole nother layer of activation that we can look to and go, how do I get to know my body? How do I honor my body? How do I honor my cycle instead of just pushing through like every day's the same? Because obviously it's not.
Yes.
Mm.
What do you think? What would you say to the people that have never heard of spirituality and spiritual practices? Like, how would you recommend them to start?
For me, so I run beginners psychic development courses, and I truly believe that's something that we should be teaching in school because
Mhm.
it's essentially how do I turn off the outside noise and how do I turn up the internal noise? Because we know what's right for us. We don't need anyone else, any other being, any other educator to tell us what's right for us. They can help to activate the thoughts that are already there. They can help us return back to who we are, but we shouldn't be looking to anyone outside of us for recognition. And for me, that's parenting, that's business, that's being a woman, everything. The only mistakes that I regret in my parenting journey or even in my relationship is where I haven't listened to my own internal voice and I've done what experts have told me to do,
Mhm.
so for me it's about tapping in, and if you need to find a guide to do so, do that as well. Tapping into what feels right to you rather than what you think is the right option. That's like step one,
Mm.
is what feels right to you in the situation.
And what through what practice can someone get there? Like journaling,
Um, I feel
meditation.
yeah, so I'm not an avid meditator,
Uh-huh.
which is a terrible thing to say, but I think there's a lot of people in the same boat. I don't like to sit still. I find if I sit still, my brain is activated. So for me, meditation is walking in nature and allowing energy to transmute through my body and my brain to slow down.
Love that.
So that can be a form of meditation.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
getting out into nature, essentially what we need to do is switch off the external influences so that
Mhm.
we can turn on the internal influences. And however that works for you, it might be going for a swim, it might be going out in nature, it might be just laying in your bedroom in the dark. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
how can I turn off external influences so that I can listen to myself a little bit more?
Beautiful.
I love that, and I do have some simple online tools to for people to tap into. So I can send these links to you. What I think is also a really powerful way to get more in tune with your own spirituality is to have better self awareness.
Mhm.
And so they're not my links, but I've used them because they're free online links, and I use
Mhm.
them with my clients. One of them is the VIA character strengths test. So the more you understand what your natural strengths are, the more you have this relationship with yourself.
Mm.
The other one is the love languages test. So when you realize how you operate, what love languages make you feel more loved. And then I also had a massive breakthrough in that as well when I realized my ability to receive was zero, or my love language for receiving was zero. And I thought that makes so much sense. I've always had such a limitation around receiving. So with these two tests, we just create so much more self-awareness, and that's going to bring us back to self, which is going to bring us back to who we really are. And then from there, we can, like Janelle was saying, understand a lot more about what feels right for us, because it's the disconnection from knowing who we are that stops us from knowing what feels right for us. So,
So
and so
self-knowledge.
self-knowledge, self-awareness, also sensual practices like tapping into your sight, your sound, your smell, like all heightening all your senses. We did a sensual eating exercise at one of our goddess gatherings. So just picking a plate of fruit and just slowly sniffing it like a strawberry, and then
Mm.
allowing it to sit in your mouth before you even start chewing, and then rolling it around your mouth, and just having a sensual experience with a piece of food that you
Yeah.
like, and like letting a piece of chocolate melt really slowly before it goes down. And so the more heightened your senses are, the more you have awareness about who you are, what you
Mm.
like, and you can cultivate more of a spiritual connection through knowing more of yourself.
Love it.
Mhm.
Sensual exercise to learn more about yourself. And I
Yeah.
love the sensual eating. I love all of this mindfulness stuff because it's not something that, a lot of people that are, I don't even know why people are against it, but there are people that are against it, right? Like, oh, mindfulness, all this woo woo shit. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not that kind of person, right? Right. And I always tell them, there is a good union between this natural world that we live in and the things that we can't see and the energy and scientific research
Mhm.
on all of these things of how beautiful and useful and helpful and beneficial it is for you, whether you want to believe it or not. There is a whole sexual mindfulness body of research, mainly by Dr. Lori Brotto and other researchers that conduct experimental research and measure all the women and men that are in the lab before and after they do these spiritual mindful practices, and they feel better sexually. They feel like they
Mm.
have better, like they feel sexual desire more. They experience sexual arousal better. So there is definitely, you know, best of both worlds, like the energy world and the things you can't see and the believing and faith. And
Mhm.
then scientific research. Like I think
Yeah.
everything supports the truth uh of this kind of experience.
Well, it
Yeah.
comes down to basics again. And I think, again, another meaning of spirituality is getting out of your head and getting into your body, getting
Mhm.
out of your head. So our head is here as a judgment tool, but it's not the know all of everything. And we let it drive. So we've all had sexual experiences where we're like, I just can't get into this because I'm thinking about something that I just have to get done, because we're not in our body. We're just in our head. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's about, how do I switch off my brain? How do I let my body guide the way? And our brain takes up so much of a role in our current lifetime that it really doesn't need to do. We think we
Mhm.
have to outthink everyone, or we have to think our way out of a problem, or, stay 3 steps ahead, when essentially our body will tell us what to do. The hairs on the back of your neck will stand up when you're in danger. You don't need to be thinking about it all the time. Our body is so clever, and our brain is really not that clever.
Our
Yeah.
human bodies are amazing.
Hmm.
Like I feel like that's it. There's a limitation on our brain, but there's no limitation on our soul. It literally goes everywhere, is everything. So that's the difference. And my journey between like just living this human experience, which I think is, as Janelle was saying earlier, like my soul in a meat suit, is trying to harmonize both. Trying because whilst we're here having this human experience,
Mhm.
there's no point in literally being fully spiritual. If you're fully spiritual, then you might as well move over to the next part of this experience, which is beyond this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst you're here to get the most out of this human experience that we're having, it's about, to me, about like integrating the healthiest aspect of your human
Mhm.
and the healthiest aspect of your spirituality that you can bring together to work together, to have like these amazing lives, to have everything you want.
Oh, beautiful. Well, before we move forward into the last segment of the show, I want to ask you what would be one tip or advice you'd like to give for someone considering a spiritual practice or becoming more spiritual uh, in terms of empowering themselves to feel more confident and more themselves in the world? What's the one thing would you recommend?
For me, it's being seen. So whether that's coming to a women's circle, whether that's sharing your shame with someone else, that's what being seen is to me, is going, I'm going to show you the parts of me that I think are my deep, darkest secrets, and you're not going to flinch, and that's going to make me accept all of myself. So, and that's why Aleesha and I became friends so quickly, because she was such a safe space. And no matter what I told her, there was never, ever, ever an ounce of judgment. And I never felt her opinion of me lessen. So go and find a safe space, and the minute that you set your intention to open your eyes to safe spaces or women's gatherings and stuff like that, you will find one and go and share or witness and just see other people connecting on that raw, true level, and it will give you permission to do the same.
Beautiful.
Mm.
I love that. I love what you just said. My thoughts are resistance is again an energy. It's something that we feel within us. And so and it can be sometimes like the tightening in our stomach or a lump in our throat or the pounding of our heart. So it's all energy. It's all going on within our body. Is to start having more awareness about those things and start listening to them and realize that that is resistance. And my quote is that resistance is often the thing that's guiding us in the direction to which we need to pay attention. So if you're feeling resistance to something, and it could be like having a sexual conversation with your partner, there's something in that that's calling you forward to do that. There's resistance in it, or not necessarily do that, but to pay some attention to it. So what we'll normally do is when we get this resistance, we'll reject it and go, I don't want to deal with that. But the resistance is saying that's there for you to have a look at.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say or suggest is that when you feel resistance going in your body, stop. Don't reject it. Ask yourself, what have I got here? What have I got here? What needs my attention?
Wow. Both of those tips are like wonderful and highly applicable. I'm actually going to be doing both of that myself and cultivating my spirituality and confidence. Well, before you go, I have this game that I always play with my guests, and it's called 10 Quickies with Dr. Tara. And what it is I give you a word and you just give me your first quick response.
Okay.
Okay. And since there's two of you, I'm going to start with you, Janelle, and then Aleesha,
Mhm.
you get number two, and then we'll go back and forth. All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Too.
Number one, porn.
Oh, fine.
Number
Yeah.
two, insecurity.
Old me.
Yeah.
Number three, sexual confidence.
Evoked.
Number four, using a vibrator while penetrating.
Unnecessary sometimes.
Number five, tantric sex.
Yes, please.
Number six, threesomes.
Yet to discover.
Number seven, choking.
Yes. Approved.
Number eight, alpha males.
Alpha females.
Mm. Number nine, astrological relationship advice.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
Geminis
last
in
but
this
not
household.
least, wait, 2 Geminis. Both of you are
Mm.
Geminis?
No,
Oh,
me and my husband.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
It is. It's interesting. Love Geminis though. One of my best friends is a Gemini. My new assistant, he's fabulous, is a Gemini.
Mhm.
Definitely great energy there.
Yeah, we're just not very organized, either of us, so it doesn't go that well.
What's your sign, Aleesha?
I'm Pisces, and I'm not very
Oh,
either.
I love that. I'm a Virgo, but I feel like you guys can tell. Well,
Always Pisces are supposed to be very compatible. I love that.
yes. Both my sister and my father are both Pisces. Love them. Great energy, great dynamic. Awesome. Well, last but not least, and I want to hear from both of you. What's your response? Feminine energy.
Ooh, powerful.
Yeah, fire.
Mm.
Fire. Love it. Love her. Right.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for being here with us, the Luvbites community today. Any last words before we go?
Thank you for having us. Firstly,
Of
thank you so
course.
much. It's been such a beautiful conversation. And yeah, I think my last words would just be, don't be afraid of spirituality. Don't be afraid of getting lost in it. Just dip your toes in and see how it feels for you. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh God, I love that. Yeah, allow yourself to feel safer with who you are and what you want. It's okay to ask yourself what you want, and so start asking yourself what you want and allow yourself to cultivate more of that. And sensual practices like simple sensual eating is a way to understand, okay, what feels good for me, what do I like, what turns me on. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm actually working on producing an event this summer. I will be adding sensual eating in there because that
Yep.
sounds fucking cool.
It was cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janelle. Thank you so much, Aleesha, for your time and for sharing your time and space here today. Thank you, my loves, for listening. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for being a part of the Love Bites community. Have an orgasmic day.
Thanks for listening. This was Love Bites by Dr. Tara. Follow Dr. Tara on social media at lovebites.co. Have an orgasmic day.